Welcome everyone to this writing lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about just one type of essays. It's the advantages and disadvantages essay. Let's begin with a note. The advantages and disadvantages essay asks you to write about a given issue. You need to underline the keywords in the question, and you need to answer the question in the essay, in your essay. Sometimes you'll be asked to give your opinion. Don't give your opinion if you're not asked to. Okay, this is very important. And you have to underline the most important words in the question. This is very helpful. You have to give yourself maybe five, sometimes 10 minutes, but I prefer 5 minutes to plan before you start writing or typing anything. Okay, so you need to give yourself time. Don't write anything unless you are ready to write or type. Okay, so let's begin with the alternative words first. If the question uses the words advantages and disadvantages, then don't use the same words in your essay. Don't repeat the same words. Okay, don't say advantages, and so on. Okay, you can use benefits, pros, on the plus side, positive aspects, on the upside, or any other synonym. Okay, and if the question uses the word disadvantages in your own essay, in writing, you can use cons, negative aspects, on the downside, problems, issues, drawbacks, and so on. And if you use one of them, so if the question uses the word disadvantages, okay, you can say in one sentence negative aspects, then in the other one or the following one, the on the downside or the problems or the issues. So try to use different expressions. Don't use the same expressions in the question. Okay, you have to use paraphrasing. Before you start writing your essay, it's always a good idea to start planning by brainstorming ideas. Make a list of the things you can talk about and then prioritize them in order of importance. Decide which to include and which not, and then decide what would be a logical sequence for presenting these ideas. For example, let's take some examples. If the question wants you to write about the advantages and disadvantages of doing contact sports, you have to give yourself some time. Just take 5 minutes to plan your essay. First of all, you have to think of the advantages and disadvantages. What could be the advantages and disadvantages of contact sports? For the advantages, you could say that excellent form of physical exercise, improves reaction and reflexes. Fighting sports teach you to defend yourself, often require strong focus, so good for mental health. Of course, physical and mental health. Okay, of course you could come up with different advantages. It's fine. And moving on to the disadvantages, easy to get injured. Some contact sports actually intend to harm opponents. People can be killed. Okay, so you risk injury, and it can be harmful to opponents and so on. Okay, another example, living in a busy city. So you have to do this before you start writing or typing anything. Okay, now living in a busy city. Here we have advantages and disadvantages. More likely to have better access to better facilities, sports clubs, gyms, sports center, hospitals, banks, and so on. Okay, because it's a busy city, which means that it's a bigger city. Okay. Regarding the disadvantages, stress of city life can affect mental health. Pollution can cause health problems such as asthma, high blood pressure sometimes, and so on. Office jobs tend to be sedentary, okay, because you don't move a lot, and so on. 3, increased life expectancy in many societies. So a question could be asking you about the advantages and disadvantages of increased life expectancy in many societies. There are some advantages that you need to talk about and some disadvantages. What could be the advantages? Everybody wants to live longer. Older people can lead satisfying lives after retirement, more time to pursue their dreams, can provide more support and guidance to other family members, and so on. Okay, what could be the disadvantages? The obvious ones to you. More strain and costs on health services due to increased numbers of patients. Older people often require more frequent and longer term health care. Caring for older family members may be a burden on the family. People are retiring later, which means fewer jobs available. So these are 3 examples that you can think about. Actually, I want you to pause the video and try to come with different advantages and disadvantages for each one of these 3 examples. Okay. Doing contact sports, living in a busy city, increased life expectancy in many societies. That's it. Okay. You have to think about the advantages and disadvantages before you start doing anything. Okay. Moving on. Now we are moving on to talk about the, right now we are not going to talk about the introduction or the conclusion, because we talked about this before in the previous lesson, and we are going to talk about them in this lesson too, but I just want you to focus on the main and supporting sentences. Good paragraphs and essays usually begin with a topic sentence. It reads it should read begin with a topic sentence. The topic sentence, as we talked about, as we discussed before, expressing the main idea of the paragraph, which is then followed by supporting sentences. These supporting sentences, they are there to explain, to give examples, to support the idea in the topic sentence. So you introduce the main idea for your paragraph in the topic sentence, and all the other sentences in the paragraph develop and discuss this idea and only this idea. So you don't write a paragraph about the benefits or the advantages of contact sports, and in the same paragraph talk about a disadvantage. Okay, it's a mistake, because this sentence would obviously contradicts the topic sentence. Okay, it's not supporting the topic sentence. It doesn't support the topic sentence. Okay, so you have to think about your main sentence, your main topic sentence, or your topic sentence, I'm sorry, and that each sentence that follows the topic sentence is there to support it. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, here we have 5 possible topic sentences for 5 different paragraphs. One problem with increased life expectancy is an aging population that puts a strain on healthcare services. I want you to think about the possible supporting sentences. Okay, do this on your own as an exercise or something. Okay, practice writing supporting sentences for this topic sentence. Okay, what could be the following sentences? 2, the main advantage of doing contact sports is that you can learn to defend yourself. 3, the principal issue with living in a city is the effect of pollution on health. As you can see, for number 3, the main issue and the main problem with living in the city is the effects of pollution on health. So you need to talk about this effect, this pollution problem of living in the city. Okay, not on the countryside. So you need to talk about this. Maybe you will give examples, you will explain, use cohesive devices. For example, okay, so you will maybe you will have one supporting sentence, then you will give an example, then another supporting sentence, then you will try to explain, maybe you will use the cohesive device in other words, and so on. Okay. 4, one obvious negative effect of living in a city is the risk of being victim of violent crime. So it's one obvious negative effect of living in a big city is the risk of being victim of violent crime. So you need to write supporting sentences to support this idea in the topic sentence. 5. Another disadvantage of contact sports is that you are at risk of getting hurt or seriously injured. I'm sorry. So the problem is that some people just watch the video, and when they start writing, they don't use any of the concepts we talked about or we talk about. Okay, they just write using their knowledge, and they think that this is a good idea, and the more that they write, the better they can get, or they will get. Okay, it's a big mistake. You have to use the concepts in these videos so that you can write better. Okay, you have to think about the structure of your essay, as we are going to talk about. Right now we are talking about one paragraph only, not the whole essay. So you need to understand that you have one topic sentence, and these are some examples, followed by supporting sentences, and the supporting sentences must talk about this main idea in the topic sentence. This is very, very important. Okay. Now we have a bit of an exercise. Here we have one topic sentence. One obvious benefit of participating in a contact sport is the improvement of one's physical health and well-being. Which of the following supporting sentences do not develop the idea in the topic sentence? So here we have 6 supporting sentences. Two of these 6 sentences are not there to support the topic sentence. So they cannot be used in a paragraph that begins with one obvious benefit of participating in a contact sport is the improvement in one's health or physical health and well-being. Okay, so you have to pause the video, read the sentences, and try to think about each one of them. Okay, I want you to find which 2 of these supporting sentences cannot work in this context. Okay, so pause the video and come back when you're done. So let's read them. Taking part in a demanding and potentially dangerous activity leads to enhanced physical conditioning, as well as improved speed of thought and reaction time. Does this sentence has anything to do with the topic sentence? Yes, because I'm talking about one's physical health and well-being. So I'm talking about the benefits of participating in a contact sport, because it's helpful to maintain your physical health. Okay, so it leads to enhanced physical conditioning and improved speed of thought and reaction time. So this is one benefit. 2, any physical exercise, however minimal, is bound to improve fitness in some way. But studies show that boxing, in particular, produces the fittest and sharpest athletes of any sport there is. Okay, so does this supporting sentence related to the paragraph, or the topic sentence? Can it be part of the paragraph? Yes, of course, because it talks about one's physical health and well-being, and it gives an example. Studies show that boxing, especially boxing here, okay, produces the best athletes of any sport there is. Okay, 3. On the other hand, oh my God, on the other hand, it's arguably that the potential dangers involved in doing that and injuries are inevitable. After all, outweigh any benefits that may be felt or gained. On the other hand, can this be a part of the paragraph? Can this support the topic sentence? No. How can you do that? It says, on the other hand. I'm going to be talking about probably a disadvantage, a problem with contact sports. So it cannot be a supporting sentence. Okay, I hope you get the idea now. Despite the fact that there have been many accidents and even occasional fatalities, the vast majority of people who take part gain a high level of fitness and rarely, if ever, suffer injury. Okay, despite the fact that there have been accidents, okay, you might think that this this one cannot be a supporting sentence. But if you continue reading the rest of the sentence, it says that the vast majority of people who participate in a contact sport rarely suffer injury. I'm sorry, not energy. Okay, so they gain a high level of fitness and they don't suffer any injury. So this actually supports the topic sentence. Number 5, the healthier you are, the less likely you are to visit a doctor, and this can only be a good thing as it's often difficult to get an appointment to see a medical specialist. I'm sorry, what? The healthier you are. Okay, that part is fine. The less likely you are to visit a doctor, and this can only be a good thing as it's often difficult to get an appointment to see a medical specialist or a doctor. This has nothing to do with the topic sentence. This sentence is about visiting doctors and it's difficult to get an appointment these days. Actually, it has nothing to do with improving one's physical and mental health by participating in a contact sport. So number 5 doesn't work also. Okay, not the last one. Not only that, but sometimes but sometimes the risky nature of sports such as rugby or ice hockey also demand intense levels of concentration that positively affect mental awareness. So I'm talking about contact sports, and some of them, I talked about rugby and ice hockey. They demand intense levels of concentration that positively affect mental awareness. So I'm talking about your well-being. So this has to do with the topic sentence. It develops the topic sentence. Okay. So the whole idea of this exercise is to train you. You need to understand that you have one topic sentence, one main idea in your paragraph, and the rest of the paragraph just supports the idea, this idea. Okay. As you can see, number 3 and number 5, they cannot be part of a paragraph about this topic. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is, I said this cannot be a supporting sentence, number 3. It's illogical because it immediately argues that the opposite to the topic sentence. It argues that something opposite to the topic sentence, leaving the original idea stated in the topic sentence undeveloped. Okay, it doesn't discuss or develop your main idea. And number 5, also, we said that this sentence is not effective because it doesn't logically develop the original idea in the topic sentence, which introduces the idea of personal fitness. It doesn't make sense to expand this into a discussion about the problems caused by a busy doctor's schedule. Okay, we are not talking about visiting hospitals and that hospitals have too many patients to treat. Okay, we are talking about physical and mental health due to a contact sport participation or something like that. Okay, so 3 and 5, they cannot work. Now, each supporting sentence has a function. It can give an example using the word for example. It can cause, it can be cause and effect, as we're going to see. It can support the topic sentence and at the same time showing a contrasting idea. Or it can add an additional point related to the discussion. Okay, so here we have 4. The rest, we said that number 3 and 5, they cannot be supporting sentences for this topic sentence, but we said that 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 4, and 6 are fine. They can be part of this paragraph. Okay, now I want you to pause the video and do this matching exercise. Here we have the 4 sentences, and here we have 4 functions. Okay, one of these sentences, it gives a specific supporting example. One of them uses cause and effect arguments to clarify the idea. One of them supports the topic sentence, but shows a contrasting view that look at another side of the argument. And the last one of them, it adds an additional point to make your idea in the topic sentence stronger. Okay, it strengthens the idea in the topic sentence. So I want you to pause the video and try to do this on your own. You can take as much, you can take 5 minutes. Okay, then come back when you're done. Now, this is the function of each supporting sentence. Regularly taking part in a demanding and potentially dangerous activity leads to enhanced physical conditioning as well as improved speed of thought and reaction time. The function of this sentence in the paragraph, it uses a cause and effect to clarify the idea. Okay, if you take part, if you participate in a demanding and potentially dangerous activity, there is an effect. It will lead to enhanced physical conditioning and improved speed of thought and reaction time. Cause and effect. If you participate, then your health is going to get better. Okay, your physical conditioning and your mental health. So cause and effect, participate, and this will happen. 2, any physical exercise, however minimal, is bound to improve fitness in some way. But studies show that boxing in particular produces the fittest and sharpest athletes of any sport there is. This gives a specific supporting example. You are supporting your topic sentence, but you are giving an example. Okay, which is something that we should do while we are writing an essay. 3, despite the fact that there have been many accidents and even occasional fatalities, the vast majority of people who take part gain a high level of fitness and rarely, if ever, suffer injury. It supports the topic sentence, but shows a contrasting idea or view that look at another side of the argument. So here we have a contrasting view. Despite the fact that there have been many accidents and even occasional fatalities, the vast majority of people. So this is the contrasting idea. Okay, but we say despite. So it says that this could happen, but rarely. Still, the people who participate or take part gain a high level of fitness of this sport. Okay, or due to this sport. So it supports the topic sentence, but differently. It doesn't give an example. It's not a cause and effect sentence. It contrasts, or it gives you a contrasting idea. At the same time, it supports the argument. Okay. I'm not talking like the one sentence that says on the other hand and talks about something entirely different. No, I'm using a contrasting idea and saying that despite this fact, this participation in a contact sport is very healthy. Okay. 4, not only that, but sometimes the risky nature of sports such as rugby or ice hockey also demand intense levels of concentration that positively affect mental awareness. This sentence supports the topic sentence by adding an additional point to strengthen the idea in the topic sentence. Okay, so it just adds an additional point, not entirely different. This additional point has to do with the topic sentence. Okay. Okay, another example. Now we have one topic sentence, another one. One significant drawback, we said that drawback means a disadvantage. One significant drawback is the fact that participating in contact sports can cause injury and in some extreme cases, death. Here we have a first supporting sentence. There is evidence that some sports, such as boxing, can cause long-term brain damage. This sentence supports the topic sentence. Now I'm not talking about the advantages. Now I'm talking about the disadvantages. Okay, so and this sentence supports the topic sentence by giving an example. Then you can write another one. What's more, this is a cohesive device, obviously. Broken bones and muscle problems are common even in non-violent contact sports like football. So it's like giving an example in an additional point. So the function of this supporting sentence is talking or adding an additional point, okay, to the discussion or the topic sentence. This is how you develop your paragraph. You need to think about that and you need to practice that. Don't just fire up your Microsoft Word document or program and start typing, or just using your pen and paper and start writing. Okay, don't do that. You have to brainstorm and get first your ideas, then try to outline the paragraphs and try to think about what you are going to write first. So writing takes practice. You have to practice. For your homework, you are going to write 3 essays for this lesson. Anyway, let's continue. Now let's talk about cohesive devices one more time. What's more, by way of example, which means, for example, for instance, consequently, because of this, as a result, for example, in addition to this, moreover. So we have some cohesive devices, and here we have a paragraph. Okay, it's about an entirely different topic. And here we have 3 places, and you need to use these cohesive devices. Of course, more than one cohesive device can work for this, for each gap. I want you to pause the video and try to do this exercise on your own. Okay, and come back when you're done. Now, for the first gap, you can say by way of example, for instance, for example. Actually, I don't like to use more than 3 or 4 cohesive devices in a paragraph. And we said that you should avoid overusing cohesive devices. Okay. I have seen some students who use a cohesive device for each sentence. They begin with what's more, then, for example, then actually they begin with something like the thing is, then the following sentence, for example, then in addition, then what's more, then as a result, and so on. Okay, for each sentence, which of course they will lose marks if they do this. Okay, anyway, one positive aspect of city life is that there are generally a large number of fitness complexes available for members of the public to join, and most cater for the requirement of all their customers, whether those be for running machines or weight training and so on. And here we have the first gap. You could say by way of example, for instance, or for example, in my city alone, there are somewhere in the region of 200 individual facilities, allowing residents the opportunity to stay healthy wherever they live or work. 2, these gyms are often part of larger chains. As you can see, I am adding an additional point. So what's more could work. In addition to this, moreover, okay. So these cohesive devices can be used to add a point. I want you to practice using cohesive devices in your essays. Try to use maximum for the whole essay. 7 is fine, maybe 8. Sometimes you don't actually need too many cohesive devices. Sometimes you can use only 4 or 5, but let's talk about this because we need to practice using cohesive devices very carefully. You can lose marks for misusing or overusing discourse markers. I mean, cohesive devices, they mean the same thing. Not every sentence needs one. Consider whether the meaning of your sentence or paragraph is affected without them. If the meaning is clear, perhaps it's not necessary to use one. So actually, the idea of using cohesive devices helps us to understand the paragraph. When I say what's more, then you would understand that I'm going to add another point. When I say, for example, or by way of example, as this one, as we have seen, you understand that the following sentence will be an example. So it helps your readers to understand what's going on with the paragraph, okay? How you are going to take them from one idea to the next. So sometimes you don't actually need to use many cohesive devices. Anyway, This is a paragraph, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and here is the function of each one. To contrast, you could say despite this, or however. Example, you could use for example, cause and effect. What this means is that this is because addition, furthermore, effect, so. So this is the function of each one. Let's read the paragraph. One of the advantages of living in a city is that there are many gym facilities. For example, in my capital city, there are more than 250 gyms. What this means is that there is a lot of choice available to the public. Furthermore, these gyms are often part of larger chains, so people can visit any gym in any location, in any city, meaning that there are options for everybody regardless of their lifestyle. Despite this, people usually believe that rural life is better for your health. This is because the traditional belief is that living in the countryside means that you do more exercise. However, the increasing number of gym memberships in cities does mean that this attitude is slowly changing. Here, I want you to pause the video and try to think about each sentence and each cohesive devices. Take as much time as you want. This exercise is very important. I want you to tell me which cohesive devices could be omitted without impeding the meaning of the paragraph, without affecting the meaning of the paragraph. Try to remove all of them first and read the paragraph and try to use them wisely. Sometimes you don't need a cohesive device. For example, one of the advantages of living in a city is that there are many gym facilities. I will remove, for example, and say in my capital city, there are more than 250 gyms. Here, I need to use, for example, okay? Or you can omit it and the sentence would mean the same. I mean, it will not affect or impede the paragraph, the meaning of the paragraph. Let's check this out. But you can pause the video right now if you want. Okay, I removed some of the cohesive devices. I removed furthermore. This is because and however. Okay, let's read the paragraph. Okay, we said that, for example, because I'm giving an example. What this means is that I'm explaining there's a lot of choice available to the public. These gyms are often part of larger chains. So I'm giving the effect because as we read, as we have talked about, so is used to give an effect. Okay, not like because. Because gives you the reason, so gives you the effect. So people can visit any gym in any location in any city, meaning that there are options for everybody regardless of their lifestyle. Despite this, people usually believe that rural life is better for your health and so on. Okay, so I removed furthermore, and this is because and however. However was removed because the contrast is implied in the final sentence. You can use it if you want. Okay, but let's look at furthermore, and this is because. Okay, furthermore, what this means is that there is a lot of choice available to the public. These gyms are often part of larger chains, so people can visit any gym in any location and so on. Okay, so I removed furthermore because I don't want to risk overusing the cohesive devices, okay, or cohesive devices in general. And as you can see, it's just one paragraph and it has 7 cohesive devices. It doesn't work like that. 3 or 4 are fine. Okay, and this is because actually here, despite this, people usually believe that rural life is better for your health. This is because the traditional belief is that living in the countryside means that you don't need this is because the sentence itself explains. Okay, it says here in the country means that you do more exercise. Okay, so try to use 3 or 4 in your paragraph. Okay, actually If you are writing a bit longer essay, try to use only 3 for each paragraph. Okay, task 2 question. Here is the question. Many countries offer a free healthcare system to their citizens rather than replying. I'm sorry, it should read relying on private healthcare, not replying. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of having a free system and give your opinion. So this is the question. Of course, you should spend only 40 minutes on this question, and you should write, this is very important, 250 words. So this is the question, and you need to think about the introduction and conclusion. Your introductory paragraph for this kind of essay should do 3 things. Clearly state the situation, the context, and the question that you will discuss in the body of the essay in a way that sounds engaging to the reader. Not simply repeating the words of the question, but paraphrasing the idea into your own words. As we said, if the question uses the words advantages and disadvantages, you can use the pros and cons, you can use benefits and drawbacks, you can use the upsides. There are many different alternatives. Okay, we talked about this in our first slide in today's lesson. Okay, so don't use the same, and if you use one expression in one sentence, try to use an alternative expression, as we are going to see in today's lesson. For example, you can use the word abroad in your essay in one sentence. Don't try to repeat the word abroad in all the sentences that you need it for. Maybe you say leaving home and going to live in another country. Maybe you say overseas and so on. Okay. And you have to give your position clearly at the beginning of the essay, because this is a key part of the question. So let's have here an exercise, another one. Which introduction? As we can see, this is the question. Many countries offer a free healthcare system to their citizens rather than relying on private healthcare. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of having a free system and give your opinion. So here you have to give your opinion. Here we have 3 paragraphs. I want you to pause the video, read the 3 paragraphs, and I want you to decide which one is a better introduction, which one you would use. Okay. In many countries, basic healthcare provision for the population is funded and maintained by the state, yet for many others, only private care is available. This raises the question of why some countries choose one system over the other. What are the pros and cons of offering free healthcare? So this is the first one. It ends with a question. 2, basic healthcare is a basic human right, but having a free system has both upsides and downsides. So I didn't use here advantages and disadvantages. I used alternatives, synonyms. Okay. In this essay, I will discuss them, including the ideas of how such a system is essential for poorer elements of society and the problems of paying for and maintaining a system like this. Overall, I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. I give my opinion. Okay. So 3, some countries offer a free healthcare system and others rely on private healthcare. What are the advantages and disadvantages of free healthcare, and what is my opinion on it? Actually, it ends with a question. Okay. So which one would you use for this question or essay? Okay, I want you to pause the video and try to think. If you already done that, let's move on. Okay. A, this one, it's a good introduction. It paraphrases the question well and leaves the reader in no doubt about what the essay is going to discuss. So you know what the essay will be about. It does so without leaving, revealing any of the ideas it will cover. So keep them interesting or interested, I'm sorry. However, it doesn't state the candidate's position or the student's position, and it's a good idea to do so because students can run out of time before writing their conclusion. okay, and therefore not manage to state their position. So this is the first one, okay. B, I mean, for the first one, the student or the writer should have stated their opinion, okay, but they didn't. So I like this one, but it's not the best. The best one is B. B is the best of the three because it paraphrases the question well and uses the very useful introduction phrase. In this essay, I will discuss. So you will have to use this expression. In this essay, comma, I will discuss whatever, the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages, the benefits and drawbacks of, and so on, okay. This expression tells the reader what the essay will be about. It also states the candidate's position or the student's position. Overall, I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So this is was requested in the question, and I like this one a lot. Let's move on to C. It's clear that the student will talk about what the student will talk about in their essay, but it uses the same words in the question without paraphrasing. It says here offer a free healthcare system. Here offer a free healthcare system. Others rely on private healthcare. Relying on private healthcare. Advantages and disadvantages. Advantage and so on. Okay, so it has the same words as the question, and we said that this should be avoided. Okay, so and actually it doesn't clarify the student's position or opinion. Okay, it just ends with a question, so I don't like that. Okay, so B is your best introduction. Try to read them all and try to understand why this is the best introduction. Moving on. Now let's move on to your conclusion, your concluding paragraph. It should briefly summarize what you have said in the body of the essay and state your own position on the question. That's it. Of course, you don't have to, actually, you shouldn't use the same words in the question, and you shouldn't use the same words in your introduction. Try to come up with different words. Use paraphrasing. Okay, here we have three conclusions or three concluding paragraphs. I want you to do the same thing. Pause the video and try to come up with, try to figure out which one is the best. Okay, so you can do this now. Pause the video. Let's read them in conclusion. And here we have overall and in summary. Of course, these are cohesive devices that mark the end of your essay. So I like them all. The first one says there are many advantages and disadvantages to having a free healthcare system. Obviously, this is not a good one. It uses the same words and it doesn't actually say anything. So I wouldn't use this conclusion. Here, the advantages of offering free healthcare outweigh the disadvantages. Whilst there clearly is a financial cost to governments and taxpayers, the fact that everybody has access to healthcare, regardless of their financial situation, easily justifies this cost. Okay, it's a good one. Okay, right? Let's read the last one. Weighing up both sides of the argument, I would say that although providing free healthcare does have some downsides, particularly financial ones for the country in question, the fact that no one in this society has to worry about medical bills more than justifies having it. Okay, so we said that A is not a good concluding paragraph. So B and C are both good. They clearly state the writer's opinion without going into detail. And of course, they don't introduce any new ideas, because you should avoid introducing any new ideas in your concluding paragraphs. They both paraphrase the original question clearly and briefly state the position of the writer. So I would use B or C. Okay. Try to read them as many times as you can, actually. Okay. Now, planning your answer for task 2 is vital to writing a successful essay. Effective planning will ensure your essay is relevant. What I mean by relevant is that it answers the question, because some people would go out of their way and talk about something that is entirely different. I have seen it countless times, honestly. The essay is about their opinion about something, or maybe about the disadvantages and advantages of something. They talk about problems. Okay, so you have to answer the question. Your essay has to be relevant. Okay, and you have to think about the structure. Is it clearly organized in paragraphs? You begin with an introduction, then one paragraph, as we are going to see soon, one paragraph about the advantages, then another paragraph about the disadvantages, and your concluding paragraph. So this is a good structure. And coherent, easy to follow, easy to read, using cohesive devices. When you want to give an example, by way of an example, or for example, if you want to explain something, maybe what I mean by this in other words, we are going to see these expressions. We talked about this many times before. So you should spend 5 minutes planning your essay. You need to do this so that you don't write a lot of information that doesn't answer the question. Also, you need to plan your answer so that you don't write too much, too little, or run out of ideas halfway through. So you need to start with having a plan. Take 5 minutes. Don't worry, you are going to practice this, and you are going to write many essays. Actually, you have to start with a plan. Create a plan. Don't just type. Don't just write. Please start with your plan. Okay. So let's talk about that. Okay, now let's talk about organizing and structuring your essay. Here we have the question. Experts believe that over the next decade, robots will be doing many of the jobs currently done by humans. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this. You have to start with your introductory paragraph, first of all. Then for the second paragraph, you can talk about the advantages. Maybe we will talk about that robots work better. They don't get tired. They don't take breaks, and they can perform or do dangerous jobs. Okay, so these are my ideas. Okay, yours can be different. It's fine. For the third paragraph, you are going to be talking about the disadvantages. Maybe the disadvantages could be no jobs for humans. Dangerous if they don't work properly. I mean the robots. And then the conclusion. Okay, your concluding paragraph. So let's do this. The introduction first. In the future, scientists predict that robots will be doing many of the tasks. I didn't say jobs. Okay, and I said I didn't use the word believe. I used the word predict. Okay, and here I used a cohesive device. Okay, just one cohesive device. There will be many benefits. I didn't say advantages and drawbacks. So I used paraphrases or synonyms for society. In this essay, I used this sentence. It's very important that you use this sentence. I will discuss both the positive and negative aspects of this new development. Of course, this is a reference to the question. Robots will be doing many of the jobs currently done by humans. Okay, so this is also a very good thing to do. Use references. Okay, so here actually in the last sentence, I used the word positive and negative aspects. Okay, you shouldn't use the word adjective, advantages and disadvantages throughout your essay. Try to use synonyms. Okay, benefits, drawbacks, positive and negative aspects. That's it. Okay, it's very easy to the point. Now moving on to the first paragraph here. So now I'm going to be talking about the advantages. I have used 3 cohesive devices only, actually 2 and 1 reference. Furthermore, and for example, the biggest advantage, okay, now I can use the word advantage once, it's fine. Robots will bring to the workplace is their ability to work quickly and accurately. Furthermore, they don't need to take breaks or have holidays. And I use the ideas in the structure. Okay, you have to spend 5 minutes and try to come up with your own ideas. Okay. Okay, we said that you don't need breaks. This would mean that having a robot worker would be much more economical than employing a human. Another great benefit, actually, this could be a cohesive device of using robots in the workplace. So I use the workplace twice, is that they can perform tasks that are thought to be dangerous. I could say dangerous to humans. I could use a synonym. Okay, you have to think about these things. Actually, you can write the same essay, just try to improve it, work on it. Okay. For example, I have used the word workplace twice. Can you think of a synonym for this one, for a workplace? For example, now I'm using a compound sentence here. Okay. A semicolon, then for example, then a comma. Tasks that require working on busy roads or underground. So I give an example. Here I added an additional point that supports the topic sentence, and here I added an example. They can do the jobs or these jobs humans do not want to do. Of course, don't ever use contractions in essays. Don't say don't, say do not want to do, such as cleaning the house or dealing with rubbish. Okay. Now moving on to the disadvantages. Here I used 3 cohesive devices and 1 reference. The reference refers back to a noun or the question, okay? In contrast, there are also many downsides to robots entering and replacing humans as workers. I didn't say entering and replacing humans in the workplace. I said as workers, okay? Because if I use the workplace one more time, it will be the third one. So it's repetition, and you should avoid repetition. Okay, so the most obvious and actually, and I also used the word downsides, not disadvantages. Okay, okay, the most obvious and significant one refers back to downsides, is that many humans would be left unemployed. Also, if a robot were to stop working, this could cause major problems for a company that relied heavily on the technology. The condition, I use the condition here. A robot that doesn't work properly could be very dangerous in some cases. What's more, the cost of maintaining these robots could also be prohibitive. Prohibitive means very expensive, and it's a formal word. Okay, prohibitive means very expensive. So this is also a good paragraph for the disadvantages. Moving on to the conclusion. In conclusion, in summary, in conclusion, to conclude, and so on. As can be seen from the points made in this essay, there are both benefits and problems or drawbacks. Actually, I didn't use the word the drawbacks. I don't want to repeat myself. To having robots enter the workplace actually can replace the workplace with another noun. I want you to, or a phrase, I want you to work on this essay. This is not part of your homework, but just do it as you study. Okay. Whilst there are many advantages to this, a significant negative impact would be the loss of jobs for humans if managed correctly and carefully. However, I feel that overall the advantages would outweigh the disadvantages. Okay, so this is a very good essay. Okay, and of course it's more than 250 words. Okay, now here we have another essay we need to talk about. You should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Write about the following topic. These days, more and more people are going to other countries for significant periods of time, either to find a job or to study. There are clearly many benefits to doing this. Of course, benefits to doing, not do. It's not a verb. It's a noun. But people who live abroad can also face some difficulties. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of living and working in a foreign country. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge and experience. So this question wants you to use relevant examples from your own knowledge. Okay, you have to come up with some examples, and you need to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of living and working in a foreign country. You need to spend 5 minutes first before you start writing or typing anything. Spend 5 minutes trying to come up with a plan for your essay. Okay, now we have the introduction and we have the conclusion. You have to think about the advantages and disadvantages, because one paragraph is for the advantages and the other one is for the disadvantages. For the first paragraph, the advantages, you could talk about the benefits. For example, it broadens horizons, or horizons, I'm sorry. And you need to give examples, maybe meeting new people from other cultural backgrounds, and you experience new food and customs. 2, improved quality of life, maybe the weather, we'll talk about that in the essay. Gain qualifications and language skills, you will get better work-life balance. And the disadvantages, obviously, it's hard to integrate into a new community or country. There's a language barrier, different food and other cultural differences. So these could be the problems. Have to start life again or start from scratch. So you will be making new friends and friendships and getting to know your neighbors and so on. Okay, so let's take a look at the essay first. Nowadays, taking some time to live or study abroad, okay, is becoming increasingly popular. For many people, especially young adults, the chance to spend an extended time overseas is an attractive endeavor. In this essay, I will discuss some of the reasons and challenges of moving abroad. As you can see, I didn't use the words advantages and disadvantages. I used, I will discuss some of the reasons and challenges. Okay. You can use different words. You can use benefits and drawbacks and so on. Also, I didn't use the word, actually the question says going to other countries for significant periods of time. I said live or study abroad. Okay, so this is a paraphrase. For an extended time, the question says significant periods of time. I said extended, for an extended time overseas. Okay, so I used different words. This is very good. You have to do this. Okay. Let us begin by looking at the benefits of living in another country. One of the main positives, now this is the paragraph about the benefits or the advantages, is that it broadens one's horizons. Okay. So one is a very formal word. I should not be using you. I'm not talking to you. I shouldn't say your horizons. Okay. In other words, is that people have, this is a cohesive device, obviously, because I'm going to explain something. In other words, is that people have the chance to meet others from different cultural backgrounds and learn to cope with foreign customs and food. This can help shape one's personality. This, of course, is a reference. Secondly, moving abroad can lead to a better quality of life. Take British people, for example. Thousands of people from the UK move to Spain and Australia every year because these countries have warmer climates and encourage a better work-life balance. In addition, so here I used the 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your maximum, okay? In addition, by living overseas, people can gain qualifications and language skills, improving promotion prospects after returning home. Okay, actually can remove in addition because it's obvious, it's implied. Turning to the other side of the argument. So now I'm going to be talking about the drawbacks, the disadvantages. Culture shock is a significant problem. Many people who take some time abroad find it hard to cope with the language barrier. the food and general culture differences. So these are the examples for the culture shock. Okay, it's a significant problem. It's a big problem. But of course, I should not be using the word big. I use the word significant. It's more formal and appropriate for an essay. This often leads to homesickness and, in some cases, a sense of isolation. Another issue is that it can be challenging to start a new life from scratch. To put it another way, actually, to put it in another way is a synonym for in other words. And I used in other words once. I should be using another expression to put it another way. When an individual moves abroad, he or she has to make new friends and find a place in the community. This process takes time and can be especially challenging if there are also linguistic barriers to communication. Linguistic barriers to communication is a synonym for language barrier. Okay. In conclusion, starting life in a foreign country is never easy. One needs to weigh up the pros of the better lifestyle, weather, and the cons of cultural shock and language problems. Personally, I believe the benefits in terms of personal growth outweigh any negatives. So this is a very good essay. Okay, and you have to study this essay, read the essay as many times as you want, and look at the structure, introduction, benefits or advantages, then drawbacks or disadvantages, and your conclusion. Okay, I want you to read the question once or twice and look at this essay and try to come up with the you can rewrite the essay in your own words, try to come up with different plan for your essay and so on. Okay, we are done for today's lesson, and inshallah I will be writing 3 essays for your homework. See you soon and goodbye.